We are back. Welcome back to the Immigrant Section. Today, I have a very special guest. Please, round of applause. There's no actual people here. Dave Merheje.
Hey, thanks for having me on. And I will take the round of applause. Even if
Yo, man, I wish I had the soundboard. Woo! Bro, no, man, no.
I just want to say, too, off the top, is like I will always watch the clips that you post.
Oh, you watch them?
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to tell you. I like what you're doing. I see it bubbling from like I've watched them over time. I believe like from months ago and stuff like that.
Oh, I had no idea you were watching. To be honest, that makes me feel fucking good. I'm not gonna. I like to be modest, but shit, he's watching.
No. You got to get your as a rapper said, you get your roses, you get your flowers while you're here or something. I can't remember. It was like a song like I think it was Drake. It has to be Drake.
Yes, yeah. Nobody talks about petals, flower petals. Nobody can make that gangster except for Drake. I think he was talking about tulips. I think it was Drake. Yeah, that sounds like Drake.
Yeah. So it was him though. But you gotta tell. You gotta tell people. I feel like even in comedy, you kind of like hold back on telling people good things because it's like I don't know what happened, but it's like. I don't know if it's an ego thing, so I try not to do. I try to, if I feel like, I really dig this, I try to tell the person as much as I can so that they can hear it.
I appreciate you, man. I really do. I really appreciate you. You're right. People almost have this vibe like, it'll go to their head, man. Don't tell them too much nice stuff. We got to keep them humble. They got to remember where they are, like kind of vibe.
My favorite is when people go like, it's not even comedians, just people. They'll be like, I just want to tell you, man, good job on that thing. I ain't trying to suck your dick or anything. And you're like, but I mean, it's such a crazy thing to tell somebody you don't know. You're like, yeah, I know that. Like sucking dick and you telling me that I did a good job on a TV show are two completely different.
There's 8 steps in between. You know what I mean? It's like, you're not trying to suck my dick, are you? No. Okay. All right. Okay, good. And I'm mentioning, bro, I don't even know where to start with you. As a comedian, I want to hear all about your come up through Windsor, Toronto, the States. As a fan of television, I want to hear all about Ramy. You know what I mean? I love that show. I tell people when I watched Ramy episode 1, I was like, like season 1, episode 1, the pilot. I was like, oh, fuck. Like in my mind, if I had ever made a show, this would be the intro. As soon as I saw the Egyptian guy make Wudu through his toes, I'm like, oh shit, someone did it. This is crazy, man. So I applaud you. You have in season 2 especially, you are just pure comedic relief. In season 2, you are just a comedian on the camera, bro.
Yeah, I kind of lucked out. I lucked out in that sense when I watched it. I was like, oh man, I feel so blessed to get I got a punchlines that I didn't, when you're filming, because you're filming sometimes not in order. So I didn't really know the final product. So I was kind of very, very happy that I was able to be the comedic relief because I love that. You know
Did they write it? Did you write a lot of that stuff? Because in season 2, it literally seemed like an extension of your stage presence.
No, I didn't. I wasn't writing it, but I mean, like when we're on set, when we're filming, sometimes he's very, very supportive in the fact that he'll be like, yeah, ad lib. Like he'll come and be like, yeah, do the take, but then another take he'll be like, hey, you just add what you want, ad lib, and then we'll run it.
Did any of the ad libs make the final cut?
Oh yeah, I think when I said to Mahershala Ali, I'm like, your shoulders. I think it was because that's something that
I remember that line. I was like, look at his shoulders. I was like,
I think that one, and then there was like a couple other ones where it was just like if you know me and if you watch maybe like my stand up, you'd be like, oh, that's his train of thought. But I mean, a lot of times it's collaborative as well between me and Ramy. Ramy will be like, yo, you could say this, and then I'll be like, yeah, what if I said this? So it's a collaborative effort, but he kind of like the character is not fully me, but I mean my stuff comes out of there, and that was a thing that he was very open to, and very welcoming, and he supports it.
Did you openly audition? Did you link up with these guys way? Because you went to LA, right? Actually, before No, actually, that would be confusing if we. I was gonna go back into that and then that, and I was like, this isn't a fucking Quentin Tarantino movie. We'll just get it linear. Let's get it linear, okay? Like, did you know them? Did you audition? How did you link up with the show to begin with?
Well, I've known Ramy since like 10 years ago, man. I met him at the Arab Comedy Festival in New York when I was still in I was still living in Canada. I was in Toronto, and then we met, and I don't remember fully the details of the conversation, but we were talking about, he was doing sketch. He was in a sketch troupe at the time. I don't think he was doing stand-up just yet, and I was doing stand-up, and I remember talking to him about wanting to act in the future. It's a thing I've always wanted to do from when I was like 14. That was the goal, was to do stand-up and then get into acting. And we talked about that years later, about that that situation, or that time we saw each other. And then I was trying to move to LA in 2015. I had a temporary green card, so I was going there for visits, and I saw he posted on his Instagram that he was doing a show, and then I went and I started doing the show. Like, he put me on, and then we started to reconnect again, and then I would stay at his apartment, and then when I moved full time, we would hang out, we would do shows, so our relationship got closer. And I remember I was telling him, I'm like, man, I want to get out of LA, I want to move to New York, I just want to go to a city I like. And he goes, well, I got a homie if you want to, like, you know, go stay with them until you find a proper neighborhood you want to live in. And then that's how, then I did that, and then I was brought, and me and that guy became super, super close. And then it was the Arab Comedy Festival, we're hanging out, and then he goes, hey, because I knew, sorry if I'm jumping all over the place.
No, just take your time, do your thing.
I think I saw him the day he sold the show. Like, I was at a food spot, and I ran into him. It was him and Ryan Welsh, the one of the other writers. And they were like, yo, he sold the show. And I was like, yo, that's dope, man. And then I was like, congratulations. And then in New York, I saw that they were filming the pilot. And then in New York, when we were at the Stand, we were doing one of the nights of the Arab Fest. He goes, I think we were just at the Stand, the comedy club, the old Stand. He goes, do you want to audition? And I was like, yeah. He goes, okay, cool. I'll give you a shout and you come in. And then I was like, hey, by the way, because I think it was the following week, I'm like, I'm going to do comedy in China though. So if it's next week, I might not be here. So then he's like,
wait, like a festival in China, or like just a private gig, or?
It was a gig that was Andy Curran is a comic out there. I think he's American. He lives in like Shanghai, and he was bringing over like mostly American comics. I think Zainab Johnson has done it.
Was this at Kung Fu Comedy or Shanghai Comedy Club?
No, Kung Fu.
I used to be an engineer for a brief stint, and I went through Shanghai, and I would go to open mics at Kung Fu Comedy and Shanghai Comedy.
There was a guy, Mohammed, is a comic who also who kind of booked it as well. I think Tony Woods has done, like, everyone.
Oh, I remember I see Ahmed's poster, Ari Shafir's poster.
Will Sylvince, very funny comedian. He's like a regular at the Cellar in New York. He actually hooked it up. Years ago, we were in Australia, and he's such a supportive dude. He was like, he came over and he showed me pictures of, he goes, I did comedy in China. I go, and I didn't know anything. I go, you could do that? Like, he goes, yeah. And he goes, don't worry, man, you'll play there. This is 2014. Dude, 2017, I'm at the Cellar with, like, I think Darren Rose, Ronnie Chang, very, 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 very dope comedians. And I think Nathan McIntosh, we're at a booth in the Cellar, or the restaurant part, and then Will comes over, he goes, you guys want to go to China? We're like, yeah, I guess. And he goes, give me your emails. He comes back and goes, give me your emails. Dude, I'm on the train that night, and I get an email from Andy Curran. He goes, when do you want to come to China? These are the dates. So I go, holy shit. I messaged Will. I go, yo, you're the best, dude. This actually happened. So I'm over there, and I'm at one of the airports because I'm going to Beijing. And Ramy goes, hey, man, can you audition? I was like, dude, I'm in China. He goes, okay, can you self-tape? I go, this is the thing. I don't have anyone out here to help me self-tape. He goes, turn it into a monologue then. Turn what I'm sending you, into a monologue. Add things if you want. I was like, cool.
Oh, man, it sounded like he wanted you for the part. He was like really flexible. Like, just
Yeah.
get it on tape. All right. It's a technicality of the producers. Just get it on tape.
Yeah. And I was like, bro, at the time, mentally and emotionally, I was depressed. I was in and out of depression. So I was like, I'm like, you know what, man, I'm just going to do this. I'm not going to put weight that I'm going to get this. Do you know what I mean? I'm just going to do this how I want to. What are the odds of me even getting it? Who knows? Long shot. But I just did it like how, like, you know, I was nervous, but I did it. I'm like, just have fun. Like, do you. What are the odds of you booking this anyways? So
by the way, you got to have that mentality. You have to carry it throughout the whole acting industry because it is 99% no.
Exactly. So I never did that much of that energy. I would always get too nervous. So maybe it's because I was in China. Maybe I was depressed. There was a lot of it was depression too. I was like super depressed, but I wasn't really telling anyone. Was it like
career depression or just like you have depression you've dealt with?
I've had depression all the way through, but this time it was like career depression because I was in New York. I was like, you know, I did all this work to get a green card. I did all this leveling up in Canada to get a green card, and then I left. And then I started at like basically kind of not the bottom, but a hard spot in America. So I was like not dealing with it well, and I was missing my friends. I was just depressed, and I was like, why am I gotta do these? I was like, fuck, man.
You're proving yourself again in New York.
Yeah, and I had to do these like open mics, and I was like trying to like have faith and strength or whatever it was. But but this China gig was amazing. So I was like super lit about it, but I was also like, I got to go back to New York and do these open mics probably. So I get to Beijing, the promoter person picks me up and I'm like, how do I do this self-tape? Like I still need someone to record me. Who do I ask? So she drops me off at the hotel. She's like, I'll come back and get you for food. She comes back and I have to ask her, can you self-tape me? I don't know what the show is about fully. I don't know if she knows what a self-tape is. So I'm explaining it to her. I go, can you come to my room, which is super creepy.
No, don't worry. We're going to have everything on footage. It's okay. She's like, what? Don't worry. We use camera.
But she's already been in the room to show me it, but now it's even extra weird that she comes back and she has to go there. So, bro, she sets up. I go, I'm going to sit on this couch or this chair, and she's on the bed, she's sitting on another chair in front of the bed, and she's like recording with her phone like this. And then I go do this. I do the take, and she's like this, and she goes like this. She goes, no. I go, but I don't want to get angry because I'm like, what? In my head, I go, no, I didn't think it was that bad. I run it back again. She basically said, run it back. So I do it, and she goes, okay. She just gives like a thumbs up or something. And we go eat this wonderful meal. I do the show in Beijing, and I got to go to Singapore next. Beijing was cool. So Singapore, I do the show. I didn't really care for the show. I was like, I just want to get out of here. But Singapore is crazy clean.
Oh, like, I heard you get arrested for throwing gum on the floor there.
Yeah, bro. The cab driver had like multiple signs on if you like swear at him or something, you'll go to jail. And he was the most happiest guy. Like when I got in there, he turned and he was like, hey, like he was so pumped. But I was like, of course he is. He's not getting treated like shit like in North America, right? He's like super accommodating. And it's like 3 a.m. there in Singapore, and my Canadian agent sends me a text and goes, you booked the pilot, man. And then I was like, oh, shit. I text the girl that helped me, and I was like, we did it. And she was like super supportive. And then I had to fly to Vancouver. So I'm like in Vancouver now. And then I had club dates with Chris Griffin, and I was staying with him. Very funny comedian out there. I go, bro, I got to cancel these gigs for this pilot. And he was like, holy, that's amazing. But the flights to get back to New York, I had to take 3 connection flights from Vancouver.
Oh my God, dude.
And then
for someone who's depressed, doing multiple connections is like, what is this? God, are you playing tricks on me? What do you do? 3 connections?
Not even 2. I'm just going from Vancouver to New York. I'm not going to Australia. Like so I get to New York and I go, so Sunday we rehearse. So I've met Mo Ammer before. We've done shows at the Arab Fest. So I didn't know him that well. So we met up on Sunday, me, him, and Ramy, to rehearse in the director. And then Monday, we filmed that scene in the pilot. The one
At
where
the restaurant.
No, the wedding one.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So we did that. That was the scene we did. And it was such a surreal thing. I remember getting a Uber. They sent an Uber to take me to set. And we go through Queens because we shot it in Astoria, Queens, I think. And just the sun coming up and being like, yo, shit, I'm filming a pilot in New York was like such a, I was so blessed for it. I was like, this is what I fucking invested in with my green card to come here and do. So then we do that. And then months later, I think in April, I'm at Nathan McIntosh's place in Astoria in Queens. We're just watching TV. Ramy calls me. I go to his room and he goes, dude, we got picked up. Wow. I go, oh man, congrats. And he goes, yeah, you too, man.
You're like, oh fuck, I'm a part of it this again. I forgot.
Yeah, I didn't know if I was gonna be like a serious regular. I didn't know what my place was. I just was, they didn't really tell me, I think at that time when I filmed the pilot. I don't think so. I can't remember. They might have actually. I just kind of was, because like he called and I was like, this is his show. Even though I'm a part of it, I just kind of responded with congrats. So yeah, man. And then I think we filmed it at the following September. So man. April was, that's how it went down.
How long did it take to shoot that first season?
We started September. The diner scene with me, Mo, and Ramy, where I'm at the counter and I'm coloring with crayon. I think that might have been the first or second scene we did of the first season, because we went to a diner outside of New York, I'm pretty sure. And that started September. I think they went through filming. I stopped filming in November, and then Ramy I think he filmed in Egypt through December. So I think it went from September to December or January.
Okay, so you got the first, I think it was 8 episodes or so that were before Egypt, right? Or was it less?
Yes, the first 8 were before Egypt, and 9 and 10 are in Egypt.
Man, what a show though. Holy crap. And critical acclaim. What happened? Like, was there a shift in like your career from a stand-up or an acting point of view after that season drop?
It was more like, I got connected way more with people from Middle Eastern background. I'd get messages from people that, I think I wasn't getting that reach before. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, of course.
That was important to me. And it was important to be on a very a show you're proud of. Like, you weren't like, yeah, I'm on a TV show, and you have to be like, where they're like, oh yeah, this guy did that for money.
So the character you played is, what's the character's name again?
It's Ahmed.
Ahmed, which is perfect, by the way, because the character you play is my friend Ahmed in real life, and every group, the friend Ahmed is that guy, okay? I don't know if you've already heard this, but Ahmed is always that guy, so it's perfect. But
dude, I've heard that now, but I didn't know that before. Because I grew up in Windsor, Windsor, Ontario. There's a huge Middle Eastern community. A lot of and
bro, my friend Ahmed lives in Windsor right now. Okay,
there's Muslim and Christians in Windsor, but a huge population. So I would know a little bit about the culture. Like I had homies that would be like, yo, we gotta leave. We gotta go to the mosque. But I also had homies that were devoted, and they were very to the T. And then I had a homie that would get high with us and get wasted the night before, and the next day he's like, I gotta go to the mosque.
Yeah,
you're like, do what?
Yeah, right. Repent, nigga. We sinned.
What a grimy shit you did here. I'll never forget it. This dude got out of the car and he goes, yeah, I go to the mosque. And I'm like, this guy? I remember being I had got caught up with some people that I shouldn't have been caught up with. For a year, I was just on this, I don't know what I was trying to do. So, but Ahmed is he's the most devout, I think.
So you are a Christian Lebanese, but that guy is very Muslim. So when people hit you up, did they just assume you were this aggressively Muslim? Were they saying, mashallah, Ahmed, I love this role you played, mashallah?
All the time. Yeah, exactly what you just said. And they're like, and I go, oh, I'm Canadian. And that's the one that fucks them up, I think, the most. They're like, what? Like, you're Canadian. They don't think that. They think Canada has a shortage of Arabs. Like they're not,
Yeah, sure, you're Christian and you're not actually Muslim in that part, but Canadian. What the fuck? Like Windsor? What the hell is that? You mean Dearborn? No, Windsor.
People will come over and be like, yo, I can connect with that character. So it sucks. Sometimes it sucks because you're like, well, I'm playing a character. Because, you know, they do assume sometimes that you are that person.
But that's a testament to your acting skills. That's a testament to the actual vibe you hit with the trifecta. You, Ramy, Mo Amer. By the way, huge fan of Mo Amer's stand-up. So that trifecta is just so on point, bro. I love it.
Mo, it also helped too. It helped in a sense that a lot more like people in the industry are familiar, of course, with the show. So when you're trying to pitch something or you're trying to talk to them or get an introduction, and if your representation's like, this is Dave's Ahmed on Ramy, so people already go, oh, I've watched that. So then people will be like more welcoming to talk to you and hear your ideas. That's what has helped, especially. And then for auditioning, it's, you know, in some instances, I'll be able to just kind of like, they'll be like, you know, we want to hear from him. We want an audition tape from him, which wasn't happening a lot in the past. So there's moments where those opportunities will come about. But also, you know, it's just super dope to be a part of something that people like artistically. They're like, bro,
it is a home run show. Like, objectively speaking, it is a home run show. So especially that season 1 was like, because season 1 it was like, yo, this is a new season 2 is more of season 1. So it's like, but season 1 it was like, what the fuck? This can work in this American, like in the ecosystem of shows. This can work. This is gonna land. This is gonna teach people so much shit. This is crazy. I remember being like, holy fuck, this show is so good.
We tried it. We even the fellow cast members will have conversations, and even friends of ours I would be like, it's such a wild thing to be a part of when you kind of like, not on an ego way, just when you sit back and go, oh, you're a part of like a Middle Eastern cast that a lot of TV doesn't have, or, you know,
zero. Name one other.
None. So it's like, and it's also it's showing not always the negative side of this, which is great, which is more than great. It's just you get tired of like fucking getting sent an audition where it's a terrorist, but even funny, sometimes they try to like hide it. Like they don't want to blatantly go, it's a terrorist, but they're like, yeah, he has a gun in the scene. Like when you're doing
bro, I actually went for Egyptian terrorist in a plane, and it was actually terrorist number 2, and my line was "Aftah nar," open fire. And they didn't like my dialect for it.
Dude, I got stopped. I was like, I can't do I wanted to stop after, because I used to do those. I would do those auditions all the time because I didn't just, you know, man, you're just trying to get on, or you just don't know better. And I think just maybe the last few years I've just said, I don't want to do it. You know, but I mean, there was a time where I was like,
you can't say no.
It. I was like, very like, I just didn't know how to get into you know, the industry. I didn't know. So I don't knock that. But I mean, like, it's good now that there's another platform, or they're seeing us in another way that maybe we don't always got to get those type of auditions.
Yeah, the show, you giving that series regular is kind of like your blue check verification for the industry.
Yeah.
Like now you're in different conversations. You're a validated individual. Yeah,
very, very like, man, it just took a long time. It took a very, very long time, because I've always wanted to be a part of an American TV show. You know, as when you're growing up and you're watching TV, that's predominantly is there. So it was such I don't take it for granted at all. I you know, it's a constant blessing. I'm always, you know, I've told Ramy multiple times, I'm like, of like being in the van, getting to set in New York, being like tripping out, being like, oh man, I got a green card to do this. Like, this was like a journey to get here, and to be like filming in the Upper West Side or East Side is wild. So wild. So.
That's fucking amazing. You killed it. And what I want to know is, now from the stand-up point of view, because I'm in that point where I'm like 4 or 5 years in my stand-up. And as far as I know, it is you, just like you said, you climb to the top of the Canadian system. You have a couple of newspaper articles related to you that let you get the green card. You go to the States, you go to New York, and you level up there, and then your career is made. This is the same story as I know it, and you have lived it. So I want to know, like, you started in Windsor.
Yeah.
Did you any? You know, my first open mic was in Ferndale, Michigan.
Yeah, that's where there was a place called Club Bart, so I used to go to all the time.
Did you ever go to New Way Bar? New Way Bar?
No, because I left. So I'm way older than you, and especially in the scene is like, dude, I left. Dude, I was going to Michigan and Detroit with MapQuest. I'd have to print out and put it on my mom's car in the front seat, and I would have to drive like on I-75. Like I was like, dude, I would drive. I don't even tell a lot of people this. I was so scared of going on my own. I would drive the day before and case the place out
and practice.
Well, just like I'd pull up to the place and go, that's how I get here. So I needed, and then drive back.
Yo, that is crazy, man. In the daylight, just so you, okay, I can park there.
Because I didn't know, dude. I had to cut through like, I don't know. I lived in Windsor and we'd go to Detroit, but we would just go to like grocery stores or like certain events. Like I wasn't going all the time. I was going with my parents, or we'd go to party. I never really partied in Detroit. So now I'm going every night to do comedy there because Windsor had no
scene. Yeah.
No, I had like, so what happened was the Yuck Yucks Windsor did Battle of the Bands on a Sunday. That's how we got our open mic. So before the Battle of the Bands, they put comics up, amateur comics. So then eventually, I think when they stopped the Battle of the Bands, we took it over as stand-up. So that's how we got our stand-up in Windsor at Yuck Yucks. But other than that,
there's one opportunity to get on stage a week
in Windsor. And then you could do a guest spot on a Thursday, Friday, or Saturday if you got cool with the manager at the club.
Yeah,
like if you
a couple of years, yeah.
And then we started an open mic at a bar in the basement called Horse and Carriage. It was under where the Loop is, but underneath. And then bars maybe, bro. Like there wasn't and then there was Leo's Comedy Corner. That's what it was. And the lady, his wife, just never thought I was funny. Like even probably till this day.
Would she tell you this?
He told me straight up, I don't think you're funny. And then the husband, Leo DeFore, is a comic who works all the clubs in the U.S. and he owns a club in Windsor. He didn't mind me, but I guess, look, bro, he just was like, look, my wife, like so. So I couldn't get that many spots there, and then I started to go to Michigan.
What I want to know is, wasn't it heat to cross the border every night? Because if you told them, because I'm familiar with the border. I used to be an engineer in Detroit, so I lived in Detroit. I'm very familiar. I had Nexus. I'm very familiar with the border. If you're crossing every night, being like, I'm going to do comedy, don't they go, that means you are taking the place of an American comedian? That means you are stealing work from us. No, you can't come in. Isn't that the vibe?
Well, I'm going to tell you, I don't know how long this is going to take. But so I was just saying, I was telling them that I was going to see a friend do comedy. That's all I was. Every night? Yeah, and it worked for 4 months. No one said anything. So I can't remember. It was an older black guy. He goes, wait a minute. He'd stop. He goes, wait a minute. You coming to see your friend do comedy? I go, yes. And he goes, so you watching your friend, you're traveling to watch your friend. And I think he said, you must be a good friend. I go, I am, I guess, right? And he goes, I don't know, man. I don't believe it. And it's the first time I got jammed up. And I go, it's true. And then he goes, no. And then I go, look, man, I've done the open mic a few times. He goes, do you get paid? I go, no. And he couldn't understand that concept, I think. I think he just wasn't familiar with how like stand-up operates. On the early stages. So he goes, I'm going to pull you in. So they pull me in. So they're like, look, man, do you have a job? I go, yeah. And they're like, we need pay stubs. I go, what? He go, next time you cross, you give us a pay stub. So next time I cross, the pay stub. Then they pull me in. They're like, you need every week leading up pay stub. Tell us. Like they started upping things. So I was crossing, but then at one time they were like, pulled me in and the guy goes, do you pay bills? I go, I'm talking to one guy. I go, no. He goes, what do you mean you don't pay bills? I go, I live with my mom. And I was like 24, maybe 23, 24. And another guy, a customs guy steps over. He goes, you 24 years old and live with your mother like that, like with your family. And he had I think he had a gold tooth.
That's so funny. Bro, I believe it, man. It's like one of the Detroit guys from the American side, right?
Bro, you know what I had to do? I'm like, well, I don't know what you guys want me to do. I don't own a house or an apartment. They're like, well, you're going to have to get a letter from your mother to prove you pay your bills. So my mother wrote a letter and she signed it and I brought it back.
Please let my son do open mic comedy and follow his dreams. He's paying his FIDO bill.
I think she might have said Habibi. No.
Yeah. He makes his bed every day. Arakallah, please let him go and do dream.
So to answer your question, it was not. That's why I moved to Toronto. Bro.
That's not sustainable. Bro, I know about the border. I'm like, man, as someone who knows the border, crossing every night for that, and you got no papers, no TN visa, no green card. I'm like, that's trouble sooner or later. That's trouble.
And you got to pay, remember? You got to pay the toll.
The toll, yeah. And you're going Ambassador Bridge, right?
Yeah, or that or the tunnel, but you're paying $250 both ways, maybe. I don't know. That was back then.
It's like $4.50 and $5 now.
Now it is, right? So imagine that. So, dude, I met Jason Rouse headlining, Jason Rouse, Terry Clement, and John Doerr.
Oh, shit.
And they were telling me, but Rouse specifically, he's like, yo, you should go to Toronto, bro. I go, I don't know. Because my dumbass was like, I'll work Michigan because I started to work the clubs, but I had no paperwork. So I was like, I'll work Michigan and then move to New York. I knew nothing about a green card.
Yeah, status.
Nothing. I was like, I'll just move there. And then Rouse is like, you should check out Toronto. And my boys in the Battle of the Band moved there. So I was going to go visit them. So he's like, well, I'm going to visit them. He goes, do you want to see, I'll get you tickets to Yuck Yucks. And that weekend I went was Russell Peters.
Oh, shit.
Sold out. It was like the energy was crazy. It was right before he went like this. Like
so this is early 2000s or when is it?
2006, man, 5 or something like that. Fucking early on, bro. I remember.
How many years were you in Windsor comedy or like doing comedy at this point?
Yeah, I started when I was 19, but I didn't really do comedy. I did once a week, and then I went to college. My mom wanted me to go to college, so I would do it in the summer because I was failing. I wasn't doing well when I did it during school year. So I went to school for 4 years. So around 24, I did it for a full year, full time while I worked a job. And then I moved to Toronto.
Okay. So you got your toes wet for 4 years. You knew the vibe. You didn't even call it, but I mean, 4 years once a week, you still bombed. You still did well. You know you got it right. You know what the gist of it is. I just didn't.
I thought it was a quick ascension. I thought, 5 years in, somebody will see you at a Windsor Clyde. I had no knowledge. I was an idiot. So then I moved to Toronto and I took it full-blown serious. But I remember seeing Russell. I was in the audience and I'd see him by, at Yuck Yucks where you come down the steps to go on stage. Yeah. And he had a glow. The fucking energy was crazy. And then I came back to Windsor and I would drive before I moved to do the Wednesday or Tuesday amateur night and drive back.
Man, bro,
that same night.
That's crazy. I used to I lived in the States for 3 years doing engineering, lost my job, lost my visa status, moved back to Canada in 2017, and I've been doing open mics for a year. And I said, screw going back to engineering. I'm gonna move to Toronto and do it every night. But for months before that, I couldn't go because I was doing some random job so I could meet the hours to get EI. And I would go to Toronto 4 or 5 times a week, go up, do all the open mics all night, and drive back. I would do it 3-4 times.
Where were you driving back to? Sorry, where were you driving back to?
London, Ontario.
Oh, shit. So, okay, yeah. So
it's still half the drive of you, but I was doing it 4 or 5 times a week. Like, because London, same thing as Windsor back in your day. 1 a week max is options.
I used to go to London, bro, and do the Yuck Yucks there, and I met cats there. I used to do even like because it was so close to Windsor that's so hilarious that
I know that pain, but going to Windsor, that's 4 hours each way. That's love. Yeah.
It was. Well, I just also really, of course, I loved it, dude. I would go to Niagara Falls. I go to Hamilton and drive back. It's so fun.
Looking back, it's crazy, huh?
Oh, dude, I don't know if I drove to Grand Rapids, I think, to do an open mic. No, to do a guest spot. And my boy, halfway through the ride, tells me, he's a comic. On the way back, he goes, I'm on ecstasy, man. And I'm like, oh.
Do you have water, bro? Take the wheel.
Yeah, I go, you can't. I'm like, what if I get tired? Just try it. So.
Oh my God, dude, that kills me.
We used to go in Michigan specifically. We would travel to bomb somewhere or just to, dude, I'd go to Akron, Ohio, to do a competition. I lost 3 weeks in a row. I'd lose all the time. It was like Akron was maybe 3 hours from Windsor.
For those that are not familiar with Akron, Akron is the adhesive capital of the states, okay? They just make adhesives and fucking, it is like manufacturing death city, okay?
Yeah, remember I was so sad about the loss. I was at a gas station. I think I bought a double XL or a Source magazine.
When you're buying magazines, you bombed hard.
My boy was looking at me like, it's all right. I go, no, it ain't, man.
Reading material? God damn, man. You hate it, bro.
I bombed. And the thing it wasn't even a bomb. I didn't understand competitions. So I was doing really well, but the person brought most of the audience.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't understand the business.
You hear everyone, the killers are getting little laughs, and then some random name goes up and half the place explodes. You're like,
I didn't know, dude. And she won like every week, I think. And we were still like, it's just very interesting. If I look back, I go it was a lot of young spirit and energy that I had where I was like, I needed to make this happen no matter what, because I loved it. So I think I don't take any of that back. I would do it. It was very interesting. I can talk for hours about how like it was just shit.
Man, I've been there. Dude, I told my little brother right before we came on, I told him, hey, yo, I'm having Dave Merheje on from Ramy. He's a big fan. And he asked me, he's like, yo, ask him how his high energy was taken at the beginning of his career. Did it help him or did it hurt him? Because you have a high, very high energy. You're like Dov Davidoff kind of thing. Like,
dude, I love Dov Davidoff too.
I could tell in your act. It's like you could tell who people like, kind of thing. It's like you remind me of Dov Davidoff when I see you.
Oh, bro, you don't even. To your little brother to answer that one, it was not pleasant. See, I had a very set up punch style originally, and I remember doing Yuck Yucks, and I was very not like how I was. And my boy, he's still one of my closest boys. He was new. We were in our friendship, but I remember him going. I started to like rant more, and he's like, why are you doing this? I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, just go back to the other stuff. You were getting laughs. You like bombing everywhere. So
anytime someone talks about bombing, it's just funny to me, man. I bombed so much. I bombed last week, bro. Bro,
this is my homie though. This is a guy. So my own friends turned on me. They were like, what are you doing? Like everyone was like, go back to, this is what you're doing is not, because I would run my set to the ground, bro.
So you started high energy, and then you're like, this isn't not going to work. I'm going to go set a punch. And they're like, go back to high energy.
No, I started off like just doing, I read the comedy Bible. So I started doing, I had energy, but it wasn't like, I was set up punch when I first started. Because I was learning comedy.
Like the Judy Carter style.
I did. I read that book. So I remember watching a comic at Yuck Yucks Windsor do the same set twice. Both shows, and bombing and then killing. And it was very to the T. And I just, in my head, I was very young. I was like, man, you don't even talk like that. Why are you going to do that? You should do how you talk. But in my head, I go, if you do this, it might take you forever to get where you got to get. I just had that thought. I remember it. But you have to be willing to accept that. So then I still didn't listen. I was still scared. I was like, nah, just do what you think comedy is. And then I'm in LA for 6 months. I get robbed. Like gunpoint and pistol whip.
Jesus, what the fuck?
Yeah, and I wake up. That whole week I was like, bro, you can't, because I was going in between. I was doing like set up jokes where I'd be like, yes, I'd be like, this is what the type of joke I would do. It'd be like, when your friends go, man, she didn't want me. Like, you know how guys can't take rejection, but they always make wild excuses why they got rejected. So the joke was our homie comes over and he goes, yeah, she didn't want me, bro. I go, for real? He's like, yeah, she has AIDS.
Yeah, right.
She just didn't like you. So, but then, so when I got robbed and I watched this Comedy Central thing on Richard Pryor, I Ain't Dead Yet, Motherfuckers. And I'm a big Richard Pryor fan. And Jamie Foxx or somebody had said, I think Whoopi Goldberg, that Richard left everything on stage. And I just was very interested by Richard. I loved his comedy. I wanted to be just like him, just as vulnerable. So that's at that point I started to come back to Toronto. When I came back to Toronto from LA, I started to just be as honest as I can with, and my style changed. But it just, the scene, the people I knew were like, this is not comedy, because I would rant, and then get maybe a pop or not. So people started to hate on me like a lot, like people, you know, not my close friends, but I mean, a lot of people would tell me awful things. I'm friends with them now. I remember a comic outside of Yuck Yucks in the Alley goes, what are you doing? Like I was there I'm like, what? She's like, what are you doing with your comedy? It's not comedy. And I'm like, what? She's like, there's no, I remember another comedian would tell me like, what's happening? Like just so much hate. And I'll be honest with you, they used to call me Mr. Premise. That's how they used to make fun of me.
Actually, yeah?
Yeah. And then I'm friends with those people who used to talk shit about me, but they won't admit it.
What are you talking about, man? Oh, man, I was kidding. You were kidding for 3 years. Well, the joke didn't get good at any point. Fuck.
So to answer your brother's question, it was pretty, bro. It used to pain me. I'm gonna be honest. All jokes aside, it used to pain me. I cried when it was so sad. I was in my underwear at the edge of my girl's bed. Not even at the edge. I was on the bottom. And I was on the ground, and I had my hands over my head, and I go, I don't know if you I go, how come they don't love me?
Oh, this is like Good Will Hunting or something?
How come they don't love me? And she trying her best. I was super depressed. I just couldn't take it. I was like, well, people were hating on it. Was just such a negative vibe.
How many years into stand-up was that point?
7, maybe. This was 2000 and this is 2007, 8, 9, and 10, like where it was intense hate. And then, and it didn't stop, bro. I've heard a lot of times, like a lot of friends of mine will come up and they'll tell me, like, I can't tell you the names, but it's people, they think you just rant and you get like, people aren't really laughing. It's just, they're giving you applause for the rant. So I still get that kind of hate still, but it was pretty intense back then. So yeah, it wasn't easy to answer your brother's question. A lot of it was like, no, I believe in what I'm doing is proper. I'm not gonna switch up. I'm gonna keep doing. And I had like people saying I was on coke, people like fucking shitting on me behind my back, and never, I just didn't want to, I just was like, no, I trusted in myself. I trusted in myself and my voice. And I knew if I held on long enough, it would pay off in some sense.
Fuck yes, man. What's funny is I've had you at my Plus Time Comedy anniversary show, and you came and did a guest spot at a Toronto show I forget which one, but I've seen you twice on stage, and you do have the ranting style, and it kills. I don't know if you found it or you clicked it or you tweaked it, or I don't know, it's the years behind it, because the rant did not go away, but now the rant kills. It's not a pop at the end. Now it's laughs throughout.
Yeah, it took years, bro, of like, that's what I mean. Like, I've been doing it for like 15 plus years. It took multiple years for it to be controlled. Before it wasn't controlled. So I understand why people were talking shit. It was just me going up. How it originally started was I was doing the Fox and the Fiddle downtown, the old Fox. All comics. It was lightly attended. And I think it was Daryl Purvis as a comedian hosting. And it might've been Ryan Belville who interrupted my set, and I snapped. We didn't get into a fight. I was like, come on, man. And I did a rant, but not a rant. I just spoke from how I would speak, and it killed. And then after Daryl Purvis comes up, he goes, there it is, bro. That's it. And I go, fuck, what's what, bro? I wasn't.
Are you still talking? Stop talking.
I go, you fucking interrupted me, bro. What the fuck you mean that's comedy? He goes, no, that's what you should do. And I was like, no, I ain't fucking doing that. This guy fucking interrupted me. So I wasn't seeing that I was naturally being funny, but I couldn't figure it out. So it took multiple years to just hone that, where it's not me just screaming at you. Like the rant got controlled. That's what happened eventually. But at first it wasn't at all. My energy wasn't controlled. It was, I couldn't even control it.
So at what point and like what year in the Toronto scene were you like, you had kind of leveled up, you were among the pool of the cream of the crop of Toronto, where you were like started to looking at your going south kind of thing? Like at this point, I'm assuming you're doing west tours and east tours.
Yeah. 2010, I started to go out to the west, bro, and I never been to the west. I had a girl that I was on and off with for multiple years. Her family, she's from Edmonton. So I'd go out there and I saw how much money they were making. But I went out there and I found that they were showing me more love, I felt, in Toronto's comedy scene. Like, because they never heard of me or knew me. So I felt like it was like a second home comedy-wise, and I took a liking to it. So in 2010, I kept going out more every year and multiple times a year. And then 2011, I won the homegrown competition at Just for Laughs. And that kind of put me in a situation where I was able to do more festivals. That's where people might have been like, the scene might have been like, well, he won this thing, so we can not ease back on shitting on him. But I mean, it kind of like, at least.
That is your as a comedian, that's almost like graduation, right? Homegrown, not even winning it, just being in homegrown is kind of like.
Oh yeah. And back
just being in it. I didn't even know there was a winning part of it, to be honest.
Because there was always, and they stopped it the last little while. But back in the day, it was like it was first place and second. It was cutthroat as fuck.
You got a story for me?
Well, I mean, like nobody was like being homies when.
Nobody's like, yo, I love that premise. That's awesome. Here's a tag.
Right. Now it's like, now you're going to Just for Laughs. Back then, you couldn't really enjoy going to Just for Laughs because you're like, I need to go and win this shit.
Oh, okay.
Oh, it was like I finished first. Mark the Bonus was second. The dopest thing for me was that, because it was very, very like selfish in this manner, is that Steve Schultz, comic, was in the competition and he said something like an edgy joke, and the audience kind of was taken back, and he goes, "Come on." He goes, "We all know Dave Merheje won." This was before they even announced.
You killed that hard, huh?
Oh, I was waiting for that opportunity, man. That wasn't a thing where I was like, dude, I've been like grinding, and I've been auditioning for years, and I've been grinding. You know the feeling. I was going there with I was winning. I didn't give a fuck. I was fucking everyone up. I don't care if it was your brother, your sister, your mother.
Yeah. Fuck. He's great. Oh, yeah, man, even when I moved to Toronto in 2017, there's still, and you're not even in Toronto anymore, your smell was still in the air. People would still say grinding like Merheje. Man, this guy's grinding like Merheje. It's still, I didn't even know you at this time. Like, you're long gone and you came back in 2019. I saw you. But bro, your smell, your cloud of grinding was still, you really left a like, grind it down to the team mentality, and that really stayed in the scene.
Well, that's what the reason too I had to do that, bro, is like a lot of times look, you should always grind. I'm not saying you shouldn't grind. I was like, also didn't really like sitting down and writing as much. So I had to go up and find my style. That's how I was doing it. So I had to hit 3 to 4 rooms a night. So then it became a thing where, like, I think people were like, this guy's fucking grinding. But what they also didn't know is that's how I would write. That's how I needed to find my style or find my voice, not style. I just like, well, I could talk it out. So I had to do these fucking ridiculous music open mics. I mean, like, dude, we harassed these music open mics. I'm surprised if for a year after, if they let anybody who's not a musician go on. Dude, we were in there. We were in biker spots where we'd have to, we got a homie to start the car. So he would go first, go start the car, and we would go one by one and get yelled at and then just leave. Just dip out. I did one where I remember a guy was on a mic he hosted off stage with a mic. And I was like, I'm like, yo, and he goes, no, hold on. I got to call this person up. He had like a headset, some part of fucking, not Davenport, you know, like you know how many bars we did on the east end of Toronto on the Danforth where there was like divorced or married guys just sitting there drinking Molson Canadian, and we had to go up and try to like do. So I don't think they were the best places to perform, but I needed to find my voice. So that's why I think people were like, this guy, they grind, like the grind was so heavy because I selfishly just, not selfishly, I just found it better to perform as opposed to write me. Like I wasn't sitting down as much.
Gotcha. Did you, like, when I know in the peak of things, I used to be like, yo, I want to do 15 to 20 sets a week because I am personally limited to mostly open mic.
Yeah.
Whatever scene a comedian is in, there's open mics, mid-tier, and then high tier. The high tier is the actual established clubs. In this case, the corner comedy, absolute yuck. So if you are not in with a club yet, you are limited to guest spots at the club and doing spots at independent shows. So that's where, and open mics. And that's where I was. So I'd be like, I want to do 15 to 20. I want to do 15 to 20. And I caught myself like really chasing the number down. And now with COVID, where I've stopped everything and I've gone back and done some sets, like when COVID, like shows started back up. And I realized that like once I got into the groove of things, I was funnier now than I was so long ago. So I'm like, is this grinding of doing 20 spots a week, is it the only metric to getting better? Because now I'm thinking it might not, at the time, you couldn't have told me otherwise at all. If you told me, you got to take rest days, that's how you get funny. I'd be like, fuck you, get away out of my face. You're trying to make me fail.
No, you're absolutely right. What you just said is very key. Is because, again, I didn't know. I was just doing it because that's how it helped me get my voice. It wasn't a statement, but I also was addicted to the numbers because somebody had told me Jason Rouse would do this many shows a month. And I was like, in my head, I said, I'm going to beat that. But then as I grew, like what you just said, I do now. I go, it's not always about grinding. Some shows are just not good. So I think what happened was people maybe in the scene that somebody might have been like, Dave did this many shows. And they're like, well, that's how you do it. That's only one way you can do it. There's multiple ways you can do it. And I think you should be aware of that. Not you particularly, but just people should be aware. Cause I didn't know, bro. I was younger. I was like, I had no options. Like you said, I couldn't get on Yuck Yucks. I needed to find my voice. But now I think it's more of like work smarter. That's how it is.
And you probably know this more than anybody, but when you're really prioritizing the numbers, it gets weird, right? You run in, you ask to be bumped up, you do your set and you run out. You don't talk to anybody because you got to hit the next one. And people are like, bro, you become that guy who's not even you're frantic because you got to catch the next one so you can get on. If you get on in the first 3, then you'll catch 2 more sets. If you don't make it on early in that next show, you're only going to be able to catch 1 show after and shit like that, right?
Well, I was a psychopath. I did the most races show on earth. Neil Bansell, Panasonic Theater, 700 people, I think 2 shows. In between those shows, I ran across the street and did an open mic.
Bro, literally just like heroin addiction, but comedy addiction,
Imagine that. They were like, where are you going, bro? I go, there's a mic across the street. And everyone's like, bro, that's like, what are you doing? Like, like imagine the booker. He goes, what? You're leaving my show. I'm paying you.
Oh, yeah.
To go fucking do a show for like 3 people. So I agree with you. I think you get addicted. I got addicted to those numbers. I bump up, leave, that I wasn't enjoying. Maybe I wasn't enjoying the times with those. And people were like, this guy doesn't even talk to us. It was very frantic and chaotic. I'll tell you that.
Now, one time I did 5 mics in Toronto. They had a daytime mic, and I did 4 in the night. And I remember that 4th one, I'm like, it's diminishing returns at this point because I am tired. This last one, I'm just trying to get my maximum for the day. No. And it's like, I'm gone. I want to go to sleep, but I'm like, yo, it'll be a record if I go.
Bro, then I got afraid of this. I got afraid that I had to maintain that. When I found my voice, I still had to maintain that for the people around me. So I had to low key still be that guy in my head, I thought, until recently, not recently, but just the last little while, like you, I could not go on stage. Like I wasn't going on stage because of COVID, but then I go on and I found I wasn't better. I was like, oh man, I feel better. Like
I
feel funnier. I feel like I actually want to be funny. So to that, I think you just got to find what works best for you. And there's multiple ways of succeeding in the grind as opposed to just one way.
Okay. So I got to know this. You hit the level of Canada, you get the green card because you have everything necessary. You hire the lawyer, you do the whole O1 or P2 or whatever the fuck the whole thing.
Oh, it's a,
actually, you got a green card.
I have a green card because there's the O2, there's a P1, O2, and then the green card. The green card just allows you to work everywhere, no matter what. Even like if you wanted to be a Starbucks employee.
Yeah, it's fully. It's like you can't vote, but you can have property. You could do everything, right?
Everything.
But is it limited or is it 10 years or?
I think it's 10 years. Then you renew it.
And you paid for that, or you like? Because I didn't know you could pay for a lawyer to get. I thought you had to go O1 or P2 visas.
No, I had a P1, then I went to do the green card. I paid about, I would say with lawyer fees for sure over $10,000.
Jesus Christ.
Sure. And I had saved that money up because I knew I was going to I wanted to get a green card. I remember the day I handed over the money to the guy's secretary. She took me to the bank actually. Then she dropped me off at the bus stop. It was Bathurst or something deep, like St. Clair, past St. Clair and Yonge or something. And she left. She just dropped me off at the bus. I had just emptied out my bank account, and then the bus pulled up. Oh my God.
do they is the wording that they use? Do they go, okay, give us the money and we for sure get it for you, or do they go, you might not even get it after this?
Yeah, they tell you, you could possibly get rejected. They are honest with you. They don't tell you they don't lie to you. They're like, look, we'll work hard to get it for you, but there could be a possibility that they don't give you the green card, and then you don't get the money back. So there was that as well.
So you get it, and you're like, it's time to go to New York.
No, See, I got on MTV Live. I started my paperwork after Homegrown because I met a U.S. agent. They gave me their card after Homegrown. Okay. And I was like, I'm going to America. I flew to visit, and then I signed with Innovative Artists at the time. So this is 2000, right after Homegrown.
That's a management company?
Yeah, it's an agency. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to America. I'm going to move. And then I get on MTV Live, which I haven't really been on TV in Canada. And for maybe 7-8 months, and I was having too much fun. I was like, I'm not going to America yet. And then I just held off on my green card. And then I met a girl in 2013. We started dating. And then through that, near the end of that relationship and throughout that, I think when that relationship finished, I was like, yeah, I'm going to America. And then I fully went into my green card, and I moved there probably officially 2016 is when I got the official green card, because I had a temporary one for a while. And then 2016, I think right before Trump it was Canada Day. That's when I got it. It got mailed to me on Canada Day when I was in LA living.
That's ironic, huh? It's time to leave Canada, And at this point, you had already dipped your toes into LA and New York, so you knew you were going to New York for sure. You didn't have it.
No, I knew I was going to. I wanted to go to LA since I was a kid for some odd reason. I dipped my places in both spots, but I more New York than LA. But I just had this idea that you have to go to LA. That's what I thought, and that's why I moved there.
So you moved to LA out of Toronto?
Yeah.
In 2016.
2016, yeah.
Oh,
a little bit before there, 2015 maybe.
And then did you end up moving to New York?
2017, I was just out there. I was like, I couldn't adjust to the idea of doing open mics or shows in LA and headlining in Canada. I just couldn't get I was just getting too, I didn't really like LA as I thought I did, but I was doing well stand up in LA. People were putting me on shows, but I just kind of gave up. I was on the notion of being in LA. And then I moved to New York in 2017, I think May 1st of 2017.
And what was that change? Going from the LA comedy scene to the New York comedy scene. What was that like?
Loved it. Most of my homies were there, my Toronto, Nathan McIntosh, Julio Galarate, Alex Pavone, a lot of guys that I've been already in good friendships with for a long time. And I just loved it, dude. You take the train, go to a bunch of spots, you go to hang out at diners. I just loved that whole process. I had a great time there.
But you said that they put you back, they didn't respect kind of, when you move to New York, they don't grandfather where you are at in your past scene, right?
No, it was a little bit tougher. I had to really, if I really wanted to get on stage all the time, I would have had to do those mics where you have to put your name in or stuff like that. But people were trying to help me get spots, Nathan McIntosh, Alex Pavone, Julio, and Ronnie Chang both got me spots. They were helping me, but you still had to be there. And you had to put in a lot of time, but I was just antsy and fidgety, older, and you know what I mean. It's just emotionally, I wasn't handling it properly.
Do you think New York, in my mind, going into this whole thing all these years, as of the mindset that New York is a necessary step for a professional comedian. What's your opinion on that?
New York's just, before COVID, it was just such a great place to get better at comedy. You just really could get sharp, very, very, you could just get so sharp. You could do like so many sets, bro, like 7 sets some people I knew were doing, especially if you were in at all the clubs, if you're in at the Cellar and the New York Comedy Club. It is really a great place to hone your craft and be so good at stand-up. It's such a stand-up city, I feel.
What's the situation now post-COVID? Are half the places still closed? Are they all closed?
There's still a lot of places are closed. People were doing in New York shows outside on rooftops. I don't know how it is now. But they were near the I would say the last 2 months, people were doing a lot more spots. I don't know if the clubs are open. It just might be like Canada. I know LA, there's really no clubs inside open from what I could tell. There's an outdoor show that my boy Paul Aaliyah and Matt Rife do. Called Low Key Outside, that's been getting a lot of audiences out, and a lot of comics are doing it. So, but I don't think it's back to what it is,
If you could go back from the Windsor time and you skip all the Michigan, at this point you're 4 or 5 years in, no more Michigan stuff. You grinded those crazy Michigan, and you just met Rouse, and he said, "Yo, go to Toronto." And you didn't know LA, you didn't know you in New York, everything was still in the future. Would you play it the exact same way you did?
Yeah, because because of the relationships I've built with the people here, that I know, you know what I mean? I love Toronto as a comedy scene. I've always loved it, whether I just always loved it. I still love it. That's why I'm here now, for a bit. I just love the city. I don't think I would have changed. If I could have got my green card quicker, I might have, I guess, if I knew the option of moving to America, if it was a lot easier for us to move over, I would have probably went to LA if I knew you can get your green card. If I knew the process to get to America was easier than it is, I might have moved to LA. You know what I mean? I don't know how that would have turned out, but I always thought New York or LA because that's what we see growing up on TV, right? So I'm truly glad that I went to Toronto because of the relation. It made me better as a comic. Nobody was really watching me for a while, so I could have found my voice with not being pressured to get this or get that. I was like, well, I'm in a place that, I could just be me and fail all the time and bomb. I'm not gonna be written out of this industry or this scene. No one's watching.
That's funny because I'm of the mindset that yo, no one's watching, but you're of the mindset that yo, it's amazing for people not to be watching when you don't have it. It's the best things for people not to be watching.
Well, creatively, yeah, and then eventually you want people to be watching. The scene in Toronto is a lot better. I feel in a sense than it was back then, is because there's more avenues to perform. You had the Corner, we had Laugh Resort and Yuck Yucks. And if you weren't with Yuck Yucks, you couldn't really work anywhere else. So you had to pick one. Now you have Absolute, the Corner, Comedy Bar, Yuck Yucks. So it's so dope what it's become now. It's so awesome, man. And now it's more, I feel, independent. Back then people were fucking scared to go independent because they're like, well, I'll get fired from Yuck Yucks. Now there's so much independency. There's the internet. There's podcasts that are popping. So your podcast can be successful and you can leverage that into comedy. So there's all this opportunity. I feel that's so great. That could take away from some of the pains back then.
Okay, so technology.
You can take some of the steps out. That you don't have to do a fucking music open mic and get cussed out and called the devil.
Bro, you hate the music open. I had 2 music open mics in Toronto. I didn't tell any comics in Toronto of these because every comic has a couple mics that are not comedy mics that that no one else knows about, that you sneak in and do comedy at.
Oh, bro, we fucked up and told people, and then they start. So we learned the hard way because we were getting kicked out of them. But no, I don't hate them fully. There's some I don't like, but the one I loved. I always love it is Free Times Cafe on College Street. They had a poetry jam, and that was always day one. one of my favorite places to perform, and I have no ill will towards that place. That's a good one.
Bro, that's where we had my show. That's why you killed it on that stage, man. You were at home on that stage.
Well, I remember when you said that too. You're like, it's at free times. I go, I'm there. We used to run a show there back in the day, and also the Renaissance Cafe out in the East End. It doesn't exist anymore, but it was this older white man who I think was a retired professor, but he had money, right? He'd always drink wine and watch this chaotic musical mic. He made a home for us to go there, bro. Like we would be 5 of us, and he never kicked us out. He always welcomed us, and I still see him. His son works he's a sound guy. He worked when I did JFL 42 at the Garrison. The father showed up. And he's like, hey, and I was like, bro, it's been fucking 10 years, or like so long. And he was like, oh man, you're still, I'm glad you kept with it. And we had like a conversation. I was like, bro, I thank you again for letting us fucking perform on your bar you owned, the Renaissance Cafe. So there are some ones that I fully remember and I love very much, but there are ones that I dislike with a passion. I'll tell you that.
That's beautiful. And I know we're coming at a while now, but this just popped into my head. It's a side turn, but I have to ask because I don't know if I'll get the opportunity again. What was it like working with Mahershala Ali, man? That's like a top level actor, bro. What's that guy like?
Oh, dude. So in April, before we filmed season 2, I watched True Detective, his season. And I watched it for like, I think I finished it in a week, and I would be up till like 2 a.m. And then I was like, after it was done, I was like, man, how wild it would be to work with somebody that talented. Like how like I was thinking about it layers, like how nervous would you be? How scared would you be? And then in the summer, I'm at Just for Laughs, and they post Mahershala Ali's joining the cast. I go, oh, that's wild. I thought it was going to be like 5 years I was like, holy. And I was hella nervous before, because again, it's like, this is such a revered and such a skilled actor, right? And I'm just getting into it and learning it. So I was very, very nervous, but man, he was a sweetheart. His energy is great. Very easygoing, man. You can chat with him. He was very like dope. He'd come up and he'd be like, he talked to everybody. He made himself like, he just would be like, hey, how's it going? He's like, I watched the show. Like he introduced himself to me. I saw him. I was in the trailer at 5 a.m. with my homie, scared, bro. I was just like nervous, and my boy's like, bro, you know the line, sit down. I go, no, man, I got to get a breather. And I walk out of the trailer, and it's dead ass. Nobody's out there. Just, I was going to makeup, I think, and I saw him coming, and I've never met him. So I'm like, and it happened very fast. He was just like, hey, how's it going? And then we chatted, and then he just made it. It was just, his presence was I guess, was easy going and relaxed and grounded, and just a good dude that it just it calmed me down. Like I was like, my nerves were not as chaotic as they probably would have been and stuff.
Fuck yeah, man. That's what I want to hear. Do you know how he like prepped for that whole like imam thing? Is he Muslim or like that name?
No, he is, yeah.
He's Muslim. Okay, so culturally, he already kind of got the vibe of imams.
And he could sing too, man. When he was doing that thing, we were like, everyone was like, man, this guy has a great voice, dude.
Everyone's just marveling.
I think people forgot. There's a part where I guess he goes. I think he referenced me being Muslim, and I went, yeah, but I wasn't, bro. But I got nervous. I just said, yeah. So me, Ramy, Jared, who plays the soldier, and Mo are filming that scene where we got to walk, into the mosque and those racist protesters.
Yeah.
So I go to Ramy, I go, hey man, I think I told Mahershala I'm Muslim, and he started dying, dude. I told him the story, and he was laughing so loud. I think it was the hardest I've ever made him laugh. He goes, what? I go, I panicked. I didn't know. And then he texted him, I guess. And then Ramy walked me over, and I'm like, I'm sorry, man. I panicked. And then he goes, no, brother. He goes, I shouldn't have assumed. and we just had like a laugh there. But everyone was like, dude, I got nervous. I was like, I didn't want to correct them. Like, I didn't want to, I felt like I didn't want to.
Yeah. It wasn't your place.
You know what I mean? I wasn't going to be like, hey. So, no, it was such a great experience, man. And learning like from somebody who was at top of their craft too. And being able to, I'll never forget that, being able to be in a scene with someone who's like at the top of their craft.
Do they like do it in one take, or do they make like what did you see where you're like, holy fuck, this guy's high level?
Oh, paying attention to the details, asking questions. Like, oh, it's not like a thing where it was like, come on, do your thing and leave. It was investing. You invested in that role to make it dope. Do you know what I mean? This was about, it's like it's about the craft. That's what I took from it. I was like, this person is about the craft. This is like this person gives a fuck about acting. Like, and he cares how it comes out. This isn't about superstardom or fame or followers. This is just a person who cares about it's like how we care about stand-up. You care about every inch of that joke, bro. So this person cares about his art form so deeply that's what I learned from the whole thing.
That's fucking, and it came across just like that, man.
That's an actor, bro.
Bro, he's like, yeah, it's like Christian Bale level stuff. You know what I mean? Like, just like all in.
It's not like nothing against like TikTok or anything. This is a person who's like, I give a shit about my craft. Not that they don't, but this is somebody who's like, yeah, man, fame, whatever the thing is. It's like, I'm going to deliver the dopest performance that I possibly can. That's all I care about here. Like, I'm on this job. I'm going to do that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's what I want. I want people after, that's how we do stand up. Like, you know what I mean? We're like, we want people to fucking respect the craft and respect how much we put into the craft. You know what I mean?
It's beautiful. And it's like, again, it literally came across like that.
Yeah.
Yo, so what's next for you, Dave?
They filmed season 3, I think. I know they film it next year. So, you don't know now because of COVID. So that's the thing that I don't know when exactly next year, but we'll be filming season 3. That's all. That's what I know for sure.
Okay. And besides that, where can the people find you?
There's on Instagram and all social media, Dave Merheje, but there's a podcast that I do with like a co-host, Fivos, and a real therapist, Ben. It's about mental health. It's called The Beautifully Anxious. So there's like 4 episodes up on all streaming platforms. And then The Beautifully Anxious is our Instagram handle. But it's every episode we talk about a different type of mental health. And we have a professional on there so that you're getting proper information. You're not just getting 2 guys. Like, you're not getting me. Like,
you're not getting this. You're getting more than this.
Someone who goes, well, this is, and gives you offers, solutions, or things to help you with it. So I think it's really, really informative in that aspect. I learned a lot from doing the podcast, and it's the one I do.
The Beautifully Anxious, right?
Beautifully Anxious, yeah.
Yo, check that out. As always, I put everything in the description. I'll put all your handles in the description. The Beautiful Anxious. I'll go and I'll pull a link online and I'll put it on there. So everybody check that out. Check out Ramy season 1, season 2. If you have not seen it, watch it. Watch that show. Watch season 1. And if you're sold on that, watch season 2. Like, watch the pilot. Okay? If you're sold on that.
Yeah, I'm telling you, bro. Yeah, you can watch it in Canada on Crave Stars, and in America, Hulu. So, and in the world, like OSN in the Middle East, and Stars Play, I think, in UK. So yeah, there's no excuse. It's out there. So just check it out.
Bro, you had an amazing opportunity to come your way and you fucking knocked it out of the park. I'm telling you, it is the most convincing Muslim guy, Ahmed, I've ever seen. So, and the DMs you're getting, justify that. There you go.
I'll tell you more too in the future, but I want to do this again though.
Yeah, you got to come back here. Come sit here with me live, and I got a lot more like stand-up questions too to ask.
Bro, we'll do it. I'm here. I'm in Canada till like January, mid-January, late January possibly. So we'll do it. I'll come into the studio.
Anytime. Yeah, literally anytime. I'll put you back up in a month. They'll be like, didn't they just have this guy on?
Yeah, I'll go see my family. Then after that, you know what I mean? I'm good to go. So
anytime, brother. Yo, Dave, Thank you so much I'm so happy we did this over Zoom and we didn't just wait. This was fucking awesome.
I had a great time, dude. Keep doing what you're doing in this. I love the space. I love this. I love the backdrop. Everything about it. It's great, man.
I appreciate you. And from my end, yo, tell your friends about the Immigrant Section. If you fuck with this and what we're doing, just tell at least one person. I'm trying to grow it. That's all I ask. And until next time, peace.